Integrating sources into geowriting. In producing geotechnical writing, it is inevitable for you to refer to the published sources, especially when you need to do the literature review, establishing the fundamentals, as well as highlighting the relevant research in your field of study. And also you're going to adopt some of the published source in your result and discussions. In that case, you will need to incorporate some points and findings which are made by the previous researcher into geotechnical writing. Sometimes you will need to adopt the opinions by the previous researcher which you feel reasonable and in line with the directions of your investigations. In that case, there will be a process of integrating the sources into geowriting. However, you need to know that you need to be careful with the plagiarism. You cannot totally copy their statements, and you will need to give credit to whoever have made the contributions. There is one more thing you need to know about this. Normally, you can't copy their statements, as the original source may have their own writing style fitting to their own purposes. It will be quite awkward if you take the entire thing, put it into geotechnical writing without considering the smooth readings of the readers. The emphasis might be not as you intended it to be, and the sentence structures and writing style might be quite awkward and inconsistent to your entire technical writing. This brings to a situation that you might need to do paraphrasing, summarizing, and quoting. These are the three methods to incorporate materials from the published source into geowriting. You will need to know the differences between these three methods and decide which is more applicable in your particular case to ensure geotechnical writing is effectively deliver the message and information to the reader. Of course, these three are on the basis of you are not actually doing this plagiarism. Credit should be properly given to whoever have done the work, so that you are not violating the ethical conducts of the research community. In general, paraphrasing is referring to restate relevant informations. Summarizing is to highlighting the key points. And quoting is actually using the exact words from the source to be put into geotechnical writing. In engineering research, quoting is uncommon. Personally, I can't recall any of the technical writings, be it the thesis or journal papers, that the author quoted any of the statements from the previous researchers. It is rather rare in engineering research, except when you need to establish some significant definitions. Within the field of study. Now let us look at the comparison of these three methods of incorporating the materials from the published sources in geowriting. The paraphrasing and summarizing do not use the exact words of the source. That means they are taking the meanings of the original source and write it in your own word. As for quoting, the exact words of the source will be used. Next, the paraphrasing and summarizing involve writing a paragraph or sections in your own words. Only that paraphrasing are keeping the details, while summarizing are omitting the details. This is so because of the purpose of paraphrasing and summarizing. Paraphrasing is more focused on the relevant informations. The purpose is to give you the relevant information. As for summarizing, it is more interested with the key point. For more detail, the reader may need to search for the original source. As for quoting, it usually involves a brief piece of the original text. And this piece of text is normally very significant, which the impacts and the amount of the informations would have been discounted if you paraphrase it or summarize it. That leads to the only options that you can incorporate it in your technical writing, which is by quoting. Next, paraphrasing and summarizing involve the changes of the words or phrasing in the text while retaining the original meaning. This is what I said. You will need to keep the meaning of the original source. Only that you can write on your own words. As for quoting, there will be quoting marks used both before and after the quoted words. Sometimes they even put these quoting words in italic form to clearly indicate that it is actually quoted from somewhere else. In terms of the length, in comparison to the original source, paraphrasing is usually having the same length as the original text. Same goes to quoting, which is going to be totally the same length as the original text. However, summarizing, it is usually much more shorter than the original text. And the last point here is all paraphrasing, summarizing, and quoting, you will need to acknowledge and refer the sources. This is to prevent the plagiarism. What you see here, paraphrasing and summarizing seems to be quite similar. The difference it will be its purpose. Paraphrasing is more interested with the informations to be given to the reader. It is as if transferring the informations from the published source, restating in your technical writing to be delivered to the readers. The meaning will be the same. The length of the text will be similar. You're not going to use exactly every single words from the source, which is going to involve your own words, and you are keeping the details. As for summarizing, the ultimate purpose here is to highlight the key points. When you do that, you can actually omit the details, only highlight the significant part. You're not going to have the entire sentence and all the words to be identical to the source. You may use your own words and the sentence structures, providing the same meaning as given in the original source. In fact, both paraphrasing, summarizing are allowed in engineering research. It is flexible to you, as you only need to keep the meaning with proper citations, and it doesn't interrupt your flow of information's delivery. You also need to compromise your own writing style so that the materials from the published source can fit into your technical writing. These are some examples of the common expressions when paraphrasing or summarizing. For example, the study or research by X shows or indicate or reveal that, as X has indicated or demonstrated that. The X here is the author of the published source. X has drawn attention to. X reports or argued or concludes that. A study by X shows that. Research by X suggested that. What you see here, each of the expression here is actually giving acknowledgement to the persons who contributed the ideas. This is not plagiarism. And you may put your own sentence behind each of the expressions as long as the meaning of the original source is not being altered.